That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Jimmy Doane Show. 1 minute early. We're making up for past tardies.
Yes, we're 1 minute early.
That's right. Today is the 15th of May, 2019. I'm Counselor Curtis. I'm here with Jimmy Doane. He's right there. That's him. And
Jimmy Doane's here with Counselor Curtis.
That's right. So we do this twice a week these days at 4 p.m. Wednesdays and Sundays live, and then I'll post a show with all the subjects time-stamped up on YouTube in about an hour or two, and then we'll also upload to Libsyn, which broadcasts out to iTunes, SoundCloud, all those other places if you want to listen to us.
Stitcher, are we on Stitcher?
We are.
Okay.
I think so.
I gotta go check.
And so for your audio listening, if you prefer.
Enjoyment. I'd like to think it's your audio enjoyment.
That's right. So.
Or frustration, as the case may be.
Thanks for joining us. What's happening?
What's happening? Lots of things happening.
I know. This is
big deal.
News week.
Heading into war.
You think so?
Oh my! Well, let me tell you. There's two things.
You called it. If it happens, I'll tell you.
Well, here's what I pulled up.
Uh-huh.
The U.S. envoy and urges a response, quote, short of war, as Gulf tankers were attacked. Now, what happened was apparently there were in the UAE some tankers out there, and they were sabotaged.
Right.
Somehow, nobody knows who did it. Nobody's taken said we did it. No flags raised or anything like that. But the U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia said Washington should take what he calls a reasonable response short of war after it has been determined who was behind the attacks on oil tankers. Now, of course, it turns out that if the Republic of Congo was responsible for this, you wonder what the response is going to be short of war.
Kill them all.
Well, I guess, or something, because they got all the B-52s over there now. Which B-52s, I think, they're old. I think they were used in Vietnam when they had the rolling thunder and they carpet bombed. So that's what they're prepared to do, obviously, in Iran. So Iran was also a prime suspect, though, in the sabotage, although Washington has no conclusive proof, as said a U.S. official, and he said, and of course Iran said, no, not us. No, we didn't do it. Well, of course,
me?
Yeah, me, right. We need to do a thorough investigation to understand what happened, says the ambassador, why it happened, and then come up with a reasonable response, except other than short of war.
Somebody get the dartboard out.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, it's interesting. And here's what they come up with. They say, it's not in Iran's interest, it's not in our interest, it's not in Saudi Arabia's interest to have a conflict.
But we'll do it anyway.
That's right. And so anyway, there were four commercial Saudi oil tankers apparently that were somewhat sabotaged somehow. But nobody wants war, but we're going to do it anyway. And we are prepared with the carrier group or two, and God knows how many F-16s, F-22s, F-33, stealth, whatever the hell it is over there. I mean. Shit. So, but short of war.
Yeah. Well, my thought
it might be an armed response.
No war. I don't know what you could do except for the old Clinton, Gaddafi send a few missiles over to the palace thing.
Well, Reagan did the same thing.
Right.
Reagan, I forget what he did, but he sent a couple of jets over there. To do something. But yeah.
But that's about the only thing you can do because look. First of all, we know. Iran is sponsoring conflict in Yemen, allegedly. That's why they think it's them, I believe. But again, Iran is in no condition to have any sort of military conflict. They're in bad straits all the way around.
Well, in fact, what happened, it says here, of course, the U.S., first of all, has ordered, I didn't even realize we had any, has ordered all essential, even essential personnel out of Iran.
Okay.
I didn't realize we had an embassy over there or something, but it says here, Sunday's advisory warning posted on Twitter, nice way to tell everybody, at a time rising tensions in the Middle East, they've ordered all staff members out of Iran immediately. As the tensions in the region surge, Foreign Secretary Jeremy, and British officials are worried about the risk of a conflict between the U.S. and Iran, which neither side intends. So Mr. Hunt told the reporters in Brussels, "We are very worried about the risk of a conflict happening by accident." and of course, what gets with an escalation that is unintended, and it's really, ends and no good for either side, but ends in conflict. And I'm sitting there thinking, you need two to tango.
Yeah, and look, there's not even one in this. Really, they're right. Neither side wants a conflict here. This is just posturing. Iran is not going to start anything. They're not going to do anything.
Well, they said they weren't. They flat out said they weren't going to start a war. And then that's the first thing they said. So the only other way we can get anything like that, of course, is with the ubiquitous false flag. Who knows? Could happen. I don't know.
Even so, like I said, we don't even need that anymore. All you got to do is kind of threaten that, kind of say, well, there could be a false flag, so we have to bomb anyway now.
Yeah, that's right.
But
yellow cake. We found the yellow cake.
Yeah, right. Iran has 80 million people. They have an army of 400,000 or something. It's huge. 200,000 of them are conscripted. They've got missiles that'll reach Israel with payloads that'll do real damage. They don't have nuclear capacity yet, obviously, but it can't be far off. And you never know, they could buy one from somebody and stick it on the top of one of their missiles. And they could cause Israel some serious. Israel is so tiny that, I mean, what you would do if you were in an existential war and you were in Iran is you just obliterate Israel. That would be your threat. Would be, look, if you attack us, we'll wipe out them, and that would be enough to hold us off, I think. Although Israel has nukes, obviously, and if they want to take out,
but still, when you talk about nukes, the simple fact is that when you're dealing a country that's twice the size of Texas, okay, so you nuke Dallas and Fort Worth.
Well, the thing about it is,
San Antonio, and then, but I mean, it's untouched. The rest of it.
Well, but like Texas, there's only a few big cities, so you could wipe out the regime. You could do there could be major stuff, but there would be millions or tens of thousands at least, if not hundreds of thousands of casualties and innocents. And we all know, no matter what the leaders are talking about over there, the people are regular people. They're just people. And if we could just maintain trade relations with the people, then they would, I think, be able to tamp down the government enough.
Well, the one thing that they did say is that our sanctions, Trump's sanctions against them, have really hurt bad. They have inflation of 50% a year, which is not a Venezuelan category.
It's still devastating.
A lot. There's like 15,000 reals or whatever they use for money to the dollar. I mean, it's gone up from whatever it was, 10 to 1 to 15,000 to 1, and accelerating. So they have shortages all over the place now. Turns out, as you would expect, and of course the other thing is when you're embargoed and everything, and you can't get medicines, kids are dying. I mean,
yeah, apparently they have a lot of disease in the countryside, and a lot of people are susceptible to that. Like I said, they're in no condition to go to war. Not even close. And look, what are they going to do? They can't threaten anything. We're going to take the Strait of Hormuz. No, you're not. No, you're just not. I mean, they can put their they got mini subs they can put out there, and they can mine the whole place. They can make it so that nobody else could use it, but they can't control it. Like you said, we've got aircraft carriers. We spend more every year on our military than their entire GDP.
Right.
So.
Oh, by a factor of I don't know what all, yeah.
Probably 2.
At least.
And I mean, their GDP is like $1.5 trillion or something.
Really?
Yeah, it's like Florida sized.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have. Okay.
I mean, they got oil. They got stuff. They can sell.
Yeah, of course they tried to. What we tried to do is say we're not. We're going to bomb
towels.
Huh?
Nothing.
Yeah. What we said is, if you sell your oil to anybody, don't sell your oil to France, because then we have to bomb France.
Right. Exactly. I know. Yeah. I don't know what exactly Washington is trying to get out of this.
I've gotten to the point now. I could be wrong, because I've heard a little bit on both sides, and it also has to do with the China thing, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. I'll move on to it now.
Yeah, it's chicken. It's chicken, basically.
Well, it is, and of course the threat, when you think about the stuff when. Let me move on to China.
Okay.
President Trump is seeking an additional $15 billion in U.S. subsidies to protect farmers from the fallout with the trade war with China. This ask comes on the heels of $12 billion already earmarked for farmers because of the impact. Now, what's interesting is I don't know if you know, huh?
Can you say Band-Aid?
Well, no, it's not only that. You have to understand that the agricultural bill itself This is the food stamps and all the other stuff, and the corn subsidies. All that is just hundreds of billions of dollars.
Okay.
And so now what happened is, because some people in Iowa can't sell their soybeans, what we're going to do is we're going to take the tariff money, which we pay,
Right.
and reroute it to the farmers.
Right.
And the farmers in the United States comprise about 1.5% of the population, so to speak. Although for a pretty good part of the GDP, I understand that. But these are the wealthy farmers that are woe is them. And okay, the small farmers are how many? They don't get much. But the point is that what's fascinating about this is that we are going to instead of adding to the agricultural bill, they're going to do it through the back door with this tariff thing.
Right.
So the money, so we're going to pay for. I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, so not only did the price of my T-shirts go up double, but that extra money because of the tariff is going to go help pay for my food,
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, look, obviously it's a ridiculous arrangement for any long-term situation. And the only way it makes any sense is in the game of chicken. As you know, the game of chicken is you're driving your car right towards the other person. Both people know if the car's hit, everybody dies.
well,
And yet you still aim and pretend like you're going in. That's the game. And this is trade wars, and this is the same thing with this proxy war in Iran. The whole concept is we're bluffing. It's a bluff.
well, one of the things that somebody had pointed out, I didn't realize this, but our trade deficit with China is hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, 500 billion something.
$500 billion. Well, so when they put tariffs on stuff we ship to them, we don't ship anything to them hardly.
Well, that is.
So I mean, that's their wad. That's their bullet. We're going to put tariffs on all the stuff you ship to us, and that's there's 50 items right there.
Right.
And so they're killing themselves. I mean, their people there are suddenly what can I say? You put tariffs and suddenly there's no more U.S. stuff coming in, and then what?
Well, as you said, what everybody hopes is that their side's not going to be hurt as bad as the other side, and that the other side will cave first. So, China's thinking, well, we don't import that much from them or as much as they get from us, so we won't be hurt as bad. That's the only, and also they're trying. Shoot, I lost my. I was something about the public, but
Well, let me move on here. In the same vein,
okay,
Beijing calls for a people's war.
right.
Okay, against the U.S. as Trump threatens tariffs on another $300 billion in Chinese.
I know. I was going to say.
Okay.
The deal is that there is some question as to whether or not China is suffering under this. I mean, that is to say, if they're not suffering as bad as we are, then they can win the game of chicken.
I see.
But we don't know. It's going to be bad.
They don't buy that much stuff from us anyway. So whatever.
Did you notice they didn't put tariffs on oil?
No, and there's something else they didn't put tariffs on. I forget. There was one other thing. I'm sitting there thinking, well, okay, maybe it was a medicine of some kind. I forget what it was.
Right.
But it was like there were two things. And I was
Right.
like, well, that's kind of interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so look again. It's a game of chicken. It's pain all the way around until it's resolved. Nobody should be looking at this as literal statements. Everybody should look at this as temporary. If it becomes permanent, then yeah, it's screwed.
Well, of course, the question is, what constitutes, quote, permanent? That is to say,
Right.
how long term does it have to be before you consider it permanent?
Right.
A year? 2 years?
Well, my thought is a length of a presidency. He's got 2 years left, so if he leaves it in until the end of his presidency, then that's permanent, basically. I mean, he's not trying to do anything about it. Right?
Okay. Well, we'll see.
If he gets another 6 or 4 years, and then he takes it out after another 2 or something.
Well, the next president would take it out.
Right. Well, theoretically, maybe. Who knows? Now, of course, as we know, once a government gets a hold of some revenue from somewhere,
Right.
the chance of them giving up on that is.
Well, I will tell you,
not awesome.
what's fascinating is some of the arguments that I've seen from people say, well, this country was founded on tariffs.
Right, I know.
And of course, this is BS. And the reason is, there was no income tax. There was no income. Where did you get the money from? And of course, they did it with the same old thing. That is to say, we have to protect our fledgling industries.
Right.
Otherwise, we'll be buried under the imports. Well, of course, if England at the time was a big cloth producer. We sold them cotton. They gave us cloth. And if they buried us in this stuff at 1 shilling a pound or something like that, well, where are we getting the money for this? I mean, that's and the only thing you could do is if you sell to people that are poor, you sell it to them for nothing.
Right.
So anyway, but be that as it may, originally for until the Federal Reserve Act, tariffs were in fact a major portion of what we got.
Yeah, and I mean Buchanan's right when he says initially that was the only It was the only revenue for the federal
Basically,
government.
it was the only one.
But it was a little tiny federal government at that point.
Right.
And yeah, it should go back to being a little tiny federal government.
Right.
But look, taxes, no matter where you take them out, a tariff is just a tax. You're hurting somebody somewhere. My guess is, and I didn't read Buchanan's article, but my guess is he's saying, well, as long as we keep it at the border there, then we're promoting domestic production and that kind of stuff. But
yeah, well, whatever.
You're not.
Right.
It's
You're
not.
What you're doing is you're denying people a better price.
right, you're reducing the trade circle. You're
Right.
reducing the size of the trade circle,
One
which
of the
means
things
you're making things
the
more
only way
less
people
efficient.
get rich is by trade.
Right.
Because both sides win.
Right.
So both sides get richer in a
Right.
trade.
Right.
But it is interesting when you think the Supreme Court, at least up until Roosevelt, basically the idea was the money that the government collected was voluntary type money. That is to say, no, it wasn't coerced. The fact is, if you wanted to buy a shirt from France and there was a tariff on it, you didn't have to.
Right. Right.
So that was, and that was a basis for some of the rulings from the Supreme Court in the 20s and 30s and so forth.
Right. I think that's a better system. That is, if you have voluntary taxes on purchasing and things like that, then if you don't want to pay the tax, you don't purchase anything.
And the beauty of that is, of course, one of the things that's great about that is it's voluntary, number one, and number two, it encourages capital investment and saving.
How
which
so?
means, well, because if you're not going to spend the money, what are you going to do with it? So you put it in the bank, and the bank loans it out to somebody who's going to build a factory. Seriously, that's
okay.
it is capital. The money that you do not spend on consumption is by definition capital. And capital is, you have to have capital before you can have production.
Well, okay. I mean, whatever. We're getting into some technical weeds. I mean, you have to spend some money to make some money.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, you normally, if in a manufacturing in business, you spend capital, and you construct a building or you buy whatever it is in order to produce something.
Right.
And then that gets consumed. But if everything is spent on consumption, then there's no money left over for expansion and capital.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, and we're kind of splitting hairs here. I mean, but I think we can both agree. I mean, tariffs are not any panacea of any type, and this is just part and parcel to the war, the trade war, so to speak. And hopefully they'll go away before too long. But
I expect it'll go away. I don't.
Well,
I'm one of these people that says I'm one of these things that hope is not a business.
I know, but from my perspective, first you hope and then you expect. After that, if you don't have any hope, then what? You don't have any hope.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing: you can expect it all you want. It's not going to happen. I don't think.
Well, no. If you expect it, you usually have a time.
Well, whatever.
I expect it in a year and a half.
Okay.
I mean, if it doesn't happen, well, then you make arrangements for that time frame. Is what I'm saying. Hope is just one of these things that's up in the air somewhere.
Well, that's
whatever.
a good definition.
So let me just finish here. Chinese state media slammed what it labeled as Trump administration's greed and arrogance.
Well, yeah, of course.
And they called for a people's war. Now, I'm kind of curious to know, what's a people's war? I guess the people's wars don't buy anything that has made in USA on it?
Something like that. I mean, China is moved around and influenced greatly by their center. They tell their people how to feel and what to do about stuff. It's much more influenced than we are over here, because it sort of descends from a theocracy in a way. I mean, they have a more religious view of their government than.
Yeah, right. Well, that government, for a lot of people, it is a religion.
Well, right.
And you have to, there's the gods, and you have to get permission, and you pray to the gods and whatever. Okay, but
you pay them.
Huh?
You pay them.
Yeah. Well, but you hit on a point. There is a difference, and that is if the people go into Tiananmen Square and riot about the price, you mow them down.
Right.
And not, here, they might actually might do a change.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of as to why they would put out statements like that is because, as we talked about before, China has made great improvements towards privatization
Right.
in several areas. And my thought is the quote unquote oligarchs or the merchants of China are probably growing in power and strength and influence.
Good question. I mean, good point. And of course, what I read about was not yet.
Okay. Well, and my thought is, and I'm with you there. I think though Beijing probably has to be a little bit more mindful of their millionaires and billionaires than they used to. And
They might, but when those guys get out of hand, as we've seen, they
I
chop
know
them
that,
up.
yeah. But so my thought is though, you rile up the people and you tell them, hey, this is what we're going to do, and it's patriotic, blah blah blah, and then
There's a lot of that. But one thing that they don't have is whatever their Politburo is or whatever they call it, those people are not bought and paid for by the billionaires. As they are in this country.
Or Russia or someplace or
whatever. But I don't know. Russia's a little different in another different way. But here you can buy your congressman. I mean, sure, come on. That's what the lobbyists are up there for. Why do you think there's
Yeah, but you gotta pay more than the other guy. I mean, you can only buy it if you can afford it.
I understand, but that's why they have groups of people. You know, they have. It's not if you're upset about your piano, you join the piano revolutionary squad and buy your lobbyists to go up there and lobby for that sort of thing. But basically, there's no question that the bribery in this country is far and away different from what it is in China.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. Moving on to another international item, which we love. Men ordered not to look at women during the Ramadan in Iran as hardliners tighten control amid the nuclear deal. Now, what if, I'm in the nuclear deal row, whatever it is, but I'm not sure what that has to do with it. In a sign of frustration with growing civil discontent and economic pain caused by U.S. sanctions, hardliners in Iran's government are forcing through unusually strict social diktats to bring the people into line. And so they said, and of course this is great in a way, first of all, I would think if you're all dressed up in a burqa with just a little screen over your eyes, that staring at women is not on a high priority list. I mean,
I'm with you, but
I mean, what you're talking about is something that looks like a Dalek coming towards you,
Yeah.
And it's just this shrouded thing, and
but it's
woo, look at that.
it's the first Dalek you've seen in a while.
Right, exactly. So anyway, the point is that I wouldn't be too worried about that power. They've gone on a little further. My personal, and of course one of the high upper ups guys, my personal advice to women is to respect the hijab even more than before, and gentlemen must avoid looking at females passerby, which of course one of the things that happens, as you well know, especially married men know this, and that is you can actually rotate your eyeball so that it looks horizontal if you had a 90-degree angle. I mean, if you're walking down and you're talking to your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, you still can go over and just rotate that eyeball around and stare. And that's sort of involuntary. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. And apparently the morality police can get you for something like that. Anyone ignoring these instructions during Ramadan, now apparently during Ramadan, if it wasn't Ramadan, which I think is about a month long, apparently you can stare all you want at this shrouded individual, but other than that, you're not supposed to, and will be committing an offense and should expect some punishment from the law enforcement units. The morality police in Iran added they will now arrest anyone playing music on their car radio. They will tow the car away and give them a big fat fine. Whew. Well, I'll tell you, you wonder what and we're going to play the 0 top tunes today. That's it. So it's something I mentioned before. 50% inflation, currency has almost collapsed. Labor and civil servant strikes are commonplace, and the conservative establishment.
I wonder if we're just trying to foment a revolution or something.
Well, one of the things that
Well,
yeah,
but
that's what we did in Venezuela, same thing.
And Ukraine, we do it all over the place. But in that I could see, we try to put so much pressure on the regime. Maybe we know
the regime's response is to clamp down.
Right.
That's what they do. And one of the things that they appeal to, they always appeal to, in this country too, is the patriotism.
Sure.
Those people are the ugly ones. So all you have to do is, I know that this is kind of interesting, it's a little branch over here. They have a World War II museum someplace, and in it they have some of the posters that they used to use in this country, showing the Japanese as, not in a not a very good light, shall we say. I mean, they're this unbelievable cartoony type stuff. And of course now the PC people are coming through
They're
it.
in yellow face, is that what you're saying?
No, are you kidding? No, these look like monkeys and everything.
Oh, okay.
I mean, really, this is horrible cartoon stuff. I mean, you know, big buck-toothed monkeys in there. Oh yeah, no, this was, and they did the same thing with the Germans and the First World War.
Sure.
You know, the whole deal. That's what you do. You demonize, obviously.
Right.
So the PC people are coming around. So you got to take all that stuff down because it's offensive. Well, it's history. You know, I'm sorry. It reminds me a little bit of. Well, never mind. So the. Last month, the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, appointed the fiery general somebody or another as new commander of the Revolutionary Guard, and an ultra-conservative, I don't know who puts that name on him, rabbi, clergy, as the chief judge. Mm-hmm. So they've got this, it's like their version of the very conservative pope is the chief judge.
Right.
So.
Well, they're digging in.
Yeah, I know. Moving on. Uber and Lyft face hurdles in finding and keeping drivers. I thought this was kind of interesting. Ride-hailing companies confront high driver turnover and complaints about wages while trying to lower costs and narrow issues. I guess both Lyft and Uber, let's see, Uber's been out for a while, right? As a public company?
Yeah.
And Lyft just came out?
Yeah, either that or vice versa.
Vice versa, whatever. But both of them have tanked from their initial offering price.
Right.
And what's kind of interesting is I think the latest one, which was I think might have been Uber, they put the offering price at the low end of the expectation, and it was even lower than that when the dust cleared. So the initial investors, took it on the chin a little bit. Anyway, but the problem is by relying on a workforce of independent contractors, the companies are dealing with drivers who simply can turn my phone off. I'm not going to take anything. If they're not making enough money, they just don't use the app. I've got both apps on my phone.
Well, that's what the article, I noticed one of those articles said, so a lot of people use both apps.
Right, and they have it's called app switching, or dual apping. It's called dual apping. You don't like this one? We switch, no question about it. And so they're needless to say, both of those guys are worried about if our stuff, it's the competition, which is great.
Right.
Up to a point, that's really fabulous, but the fact is, that they've done a study and they found out that depending on who you are and how you do it and so forth, I guess some people can do better, but by I'm not saying gaming the system, but when they do it and that kind of thing, between $9 and $16 an hour, well, everybody's fighting for $15 an hour, and if you've got, after you subtract your wear and tear, your oil change, gasoline and so forth, and if you end up with $9, I mean, geez.
It's a great deal. Look, the company, one of them is an $80 billion company,
right,
even at this lower valuation, which is enormous.
Yeah.
And they're filling a need that was
absolutely
restricted by the unions and the cab companies.
Right.
And so now, finally, you can get rides.
Right.
I mean, how easy is that? You call up some guy with a car who's sitting around doing nothing for the next half hour.
Right.
And they say 9 to 16 hours, but another incredible advantage to working for Uber or Lyft is the flexibility.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're not.
You don't have to go 9 to 5.
You can quit anytime you want. You can kick off anytime you want.
You can go during the games.
You could go at 3 a.m. if you want to.
Yeah, or when the bar's lit out here, 2 o'clock.
Exactly.
That's what you do. You hang out by the front of the bar. Of course, that's one of the things is that so does everybody else. But that's okay. That's the competition.
Right. And yeah.
So, but what I love about this is going on this is Uber and Lyft have paid billions of dollars combined in incentive payments to keep drivers, helping to contribute to a $5.4 billion in losses. Neither of them are making money yet.
Yeah, I know. They've been going all in trying to corner the market, both of them.
Right. Well, right. But at some point they're going to have to make real money.
Right. And
you can't continue on issuing new stock.
Right, and the price of the rides will probably increase.
I wouldn't doubt. I mean, if enough drivers quit, they're going to start sending you a note. They have incentives. They do have some. I think Lyft, for instance, now allows tips.
Oh, well, they should.
They did really, for a while.
I know. No, every business should allow tips. Tips are, from my perspective, one of the best American ways to do business. It is a direct payment from customer to from producer to customer or servicer to.
Okay, well, tips. I tell you, you can say that. I got another little bit on this here in a minute.
Okay.
Because tips, unfortunately, have gotten to the point where if you don't, you're scum. It's almost like the squeegee people in New York when they would come up and clean your window, and they would spit on you if you didn't give them money.
Yeah.
Now, but I mean, you feel if you were to tip like I did when I was growing up, 10% was plenty. You tip 10% today, boy, I tell you, they.
What are they going to do? What are they going to do? You know, you walk out of the restaurant. I mean, if you go back there every day and you tip 10% every day, then yeah. But that's because everybody knows in this country that it's 15%. That's just what you tip.
Well, Mrs. Jimmy goes 20.
Well, a lot of people do. I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, when I can afford it, and even more than that, if I'm doing a bartender, or if I buy if I buy one drink from the bar, they're going to get $1.
Right. No. In that particular case, right. I mean, if you get obviously if you get something for $1 and it's tippable, then it's 50 cents or something. But yeah. There's a lot of things, of course, that you don't tip for. You know, when your plumber finishes up, you don't tip the plumber.
I do. I mean, to me, I think that's definitely the way to go. I tip them beforehand so that they do a good job.
Well, of course, tip does is to ensure promptness. One of the problems, of course, that you have, although I found out because of the way the system works, is your server gets the tip. But if your service is bad, but if the food stinks, literally, and you say, I'm not eating this, and you leave no tip because the food was bad, wasn't her fault?
Well, I'll say this. I've worked at a lot of restaurants, and some of the best wait staff will check the food. They'll check the food when it's coming out of the kitchen. They'll look at it and say, look, no, she ordered medium rare.
Right.
Take this back.
Well,
and so there's your promptness. There's your service.
I understand, but a lot of places, even places that we go to, we've gotten to the point now where we do it. But the wait staff, for instance, the wait staff cannot check the steak.
Well, they can't cut into it.
That's what I'm saying. And what they do, because we've been there enough time, they'll wait because we've sent stuff back.
Sure.
And what happens is sometimes, it's on the board, and you say, yeah, well, I'll eat it, I guess.
Right, and some wait staff will take that back from you and say, no, heck no, you're getting exactly what you want.
Not only that,
let me not the cook.
What happens, right? Well, what happens is it's interesting because on almost every occasion that I have bitterly complained about something, I've gotten it for free, damn near.
Oh yeah. There's levels.
This manager comes over and says, okay, well we're knocking that off the bill.
Every restaurant has those gradations.
Right. Yeah.
They have somebody come check. The manager comes by, says, "Is everything okay?" Sometimes they take it back. Sometimes they give it to you redone. Sometimes they take the whole bill. Sometimes they take your whole bill off. Yeah. Every meal you had there, it all comes down. That's just an interpersonal decision there, business decision by the managers and the wait staff. But I'm a huge fan of tipping. I think Lyft and Uber should totally do that. I think that's an excellent way.
Well, one of the
without that, I think that they're going to be fine because they talk about this turnover. The article talks about turnover and such. It's a part-time job. This is not a permanent thing. This is something for kids. When you turn 16, you get a car, 17, whatever it is these days, you can start making money right away.
Yeah.
And you're in school or whatever.
Actually, some insurance plans don't allow you to.
Well, and they may have a lower age limit and that kind of at Lyft and Uber or whatever. But that's the concept anyway. And maybe Teen Lyft will come up soon as more competition. But I think it's excellent and more power to them. I love it.
Well, of course, here's the other thing that's coming down the pipe.
I got an Uber in Atlanta the other day. Drove for 45 minutes. It was $10.
Jeez.
In the middle of Atlanta, and the guy was there in 30 seconds. I mean, 30 seconds. I was downtown, but it was like before I could walk from where I made the phone call to the street, the guy was there.
Jeez.
So talk about service. That's awesome.
Well, they get about 70% of the money, I think.
Yeah,
so I got $7 for driving you out there?
Yeah, and I gave the guy a tip.
Okay. Oh, they're good, yeah. Eventually, Uber and Lyft envision replacing human drivers with robot-driven cars.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're seeing that in the fast food people now, too. Of course, the kiosks now where you order up and the food is like an old Horn and Hardart. Where
you order a Coke and they give you a cup. Point you towards the ice and the soda.
That's right, yeah. Okay, moving along. I see here, okay, we're in good shape. San Francisco. San Francisco is on track to become the first U.S. city to ban the use of facial recognition by police and other city agencies. What's kind of interesting because, they have the show that's streaming now on Netflix about the computer guy where they do all of the facial recognition and everything. The strongman guy, he's in contact with the geeky guy who has the computer.
Oh, person of interest.
Yes, person of interest. That's it. So that's what they're talking about is person. Now that's of course private. You know, it's kind of like the Blackfish or whatever the hell. Not Blackfish, but the other one that's a series. But anyway, where the bad guy's the good guy. So anyway, the backlash against. So reflecting a growing backlash against technology that's creeping into airports, motor vehicle departments, stores, stadiums, and home security cameras. Recent advances in artificial intelligence have created sophisticated computer vision tools, making it easier for police to pinpoint a missing child or a protester.
Protester?
Yes, a protester. Well, you know what? They started using a lot of this on games. You know, when you go stream into the stadium, they've using facial recognition for the people coming through.
Okay.
Yes, to see. Now, of course, we've had for quite some time now. I say quite some time, not in geologic terms, but for years now, we've had license tag recognition, where they just run down and click, 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 and just that quickly it comes up if there's
those things are so good. It does it automatically. Just sits on top of the car, and as the cop car drives by, it pings everybody around.
Yeah.
It flags. It shoots up a thing if somebody's got a suspended license, something like that. You know, this facial recognition stuff, I have no problem with it to some extent, but I will say on my Twitter feed today, there was a video from the UK where the police, did you see this one?
No.
Had set up what they called a testing area for facial recognition. And people were walking by, and they were testing it out. So some guy walks by and pulls up his shirt like this. They stop the guy, and they say, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I don't want my face, everywhere." And they say, "Too bad. Stand there. We're going to take your picture." They forced him to stand there, took his picture, and gave him a 90-pound ticket.
No.
90-pound fine. And it's totally real. I mean, they interview the guy afterwards. He's like, "Man, I'm walking by, and they don't want to take my picture, and they took my freaking picture. Fuck off, mate.
Fuck off, mate. That's right. Yeah, well, it is kind of interesting because you wonder what it takes to fool them. Can you put on
a little makeup?
A little makeup. Well, how much?
Yeah.
They've done some tests,
paint,
and it turns yes.
Yeah.
It turns out that you apparently have to do quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't, because when you see how they do the facial recognition thing, they do these
47 points.
Yeah, something like that. And of course, it's like with fingerprints. I think that they can get a close. Maybe they get a 9 out of 12 hit. Close enough.
They're really good. I would imagine, like you said, you'd have to start with some. You could fool them with prosthetics.
As I say,
ski mask would.
Yeah, right. Well, you walk around. That's kind of a dead giveaway. But if you have the old, what you get at the dime store here, the nose with the glasses and the eyebrows.
Right. And then of course there was the Minority Report way of facial recognition, which is through the iris of the eye.
Yes.
So you look at the advertisement and it catches you looking at it.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. But you know what's going to happen there is they're going to come up with contact lenses that you're going to be able to wear contacts or glasses.
You walk around with a white cane.
That's right.
I'm blind.
That's right.
Well, the thing about it is the other thing they're using it for, which I don't have a real problem with, they're using it in stores to analyze shoppers by their body movements. If you stop and look at something and of course
smile.
Well, it's the same kind of thing right now. She just mentioned the other day. I ordered something.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It was not 5 minutes later. There's an ad that pops up.
Right.
I know you know that. It's been happening to me like this for 2 years now.
Yeah.
The only problem is how do you shut the damn thing off? I bought it already.
Right. Well, that's how we know that it's not that awesome yet. Is because it's not specifically. It's not great at targeting us just yet. When they.
You wait a little while.
Oh, I know. It'll be awesome.
I mean, you can imagine going through the store. I mean, I think about some of these dystopian movies like Blade Runner or something, where you see the ads all over the place like that, and you're walking through the store. They got LED TVs all over the place.
Right.
And as you walk through, your personal ad pops up.
Right. And not only that, but it's probably they'll do it with a little reflective technology so that they can beam different ads to different people
for
based
sure.
on the angle
Oh, no
of,
question.
of you walking
Oh
by.
yeah, no question about it. No,
Yeah.
no, they would, and it would be, because it's interesting, because right now, you can't, here's what I'm waiting for, is right now, as you drive down the street, the billboards now are electronic, and they'll have 2 or 3 ads or something.
Yeah.
But here you're driving down there, and it sees you, and maybe you've put a message in. It says, "Happy birthday, Johnny!"
Right, yeah, exactly.
Whoa, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a little spooky, but
it is.
We'll see.
Well, people get used to it, I think. I mean, right now,
unless you're getting fined 90 pounds,
right? That's
going to piss people off.
I mean, and of course, you would wonder if anything like that happened in here, well, they wouldn't do it. They couldn't do it.
I don't think they could. I don't think they could.
You can imagine going down and the judge going, "What?"
Yeah, I mean, when you walk outside, your face is you do give over some of your privacy, but at the same time, you are still allowed to, for example, in this state, prevent people from recording your image without permission.
Okay.
Some states are one-party permission
Right.
states, and other states are no-party. If you're in California and you're walking down the street, they can film the crap out of you because they film so many movies and TV shows there. They can't get permission.
Right.
From everybody.
Okay. Right. Oh yeah. that
So
makes
they're
sense.
like, okay, forget it. And Atlanta's probably going to be like that before too long, and the other major motion
"Ooh,
picture.
Atlanta, though."
New York is like that.
We're going to talk about that. I'm not. I didn't want to talk about abortion today, but let me just mention this. No,
That's Alabama.
Just one thing. No, Georgia, I think, has one too.
Yeah.
So as Scott Adams or somebody was saying that you can imagine if you're a big business and you want to open up a business, you're a tech business or somebody who's all social justice type people, and you want to open up a big business and you want to hire people in Alabama, say, or in Georgia, you're not going to get. A lot of people are just not going to show up. I mean,
What you mean because of the new bills?
yeah.
I don't know.
No abortion? Are you kidding me? You're going to hire 10,000 people, half of them are women, and suddenly they've gone to a state where there's no abortion?
Well, I mean, look, women over 40 are going to have no problem going there, and
The millennials, not millennials, but look, think about the people that they're hiring in those places these days are 20 and 30-year-olds.
Look, if we're talking about, how about the people who now have to move out of Alabama today?
Right.
I mean, there are doctors who
Right.
have to go down and pack up their stuff right now.
Yeah.
Because if they work today, they could go to prison for life tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you talk about those people are totally inconvenienced. You have
Inconvenienced.
well, you got to move out of the state.
Yeah.
And this is in my free public book. One of the first questions I ask in chapter number 1 is, if the government, if where you live, passed a law which made your profession illegal, or just took your license or did whatever it is so you couldn't practice there, do you leave? Where do you go? You go to one of the other 50 states where hopefully it is, but you literally uproot your entire life. And that's what they've just done to, I don't know how many abortion doctors there are in Alabama, but there's got to be some.
Well, you can bet. Well, except for the fact that they are doctors, after all.
Well-
and certainly they would, veer off into another little specialty.
Well, that's, oh man, but I mean, your whole office is geared towards
No,
that.
I understand.
All of your
but at least
paperwork, everything.
Right.
You're
Okay.
transforming everything, or you're leaving, and I mean, it's incredibly disruptive. But whatever, we'll see. We'll see if the bill survives the Supreme Court.
Yeah, because you talk about a direct. I mean,
Direct challenge.
there
to
is no. There's no wishy-washy. This one.
No.
This is either yes or no, definitely.
Right.
And so that'll be fascinating to see.
Yeah.
Environmentalists want a 1% charge on restaurant bills in Sacramento.
Yes.
A new nationwide environmental program may soon need extra charge for customers. And this is an environmental charge in
Right.
addition to your regular tax tip, whatever it is. That's it. And this, of course, is if the restaurants buy in, if they feel so socially conformity, they say, well, yes, we are going to add the 1% because what we're going to do is we're going to stop the methane from the cows, and we're going to contribute to that sort of thing. And so you get 1% extra on your bill is going to go to the prevention of pollution thing. The voluntary program
Okay.
has attracted national media. But of course, what's interesting, it's a statewide environmental program, Mason. They're debating it.
Right.
Right now it's, quote, voluntary.
Right.
And about 3 restaurants have signed up for it.
Okay, yeah.
And so, national media attention and so forth. There's 3 restaurants. Extra money from the surcharge would help carbon-conscious farms thrive to sell to more restaurants.
Yeah.
So it's like free trade coffee or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Our meat is our cows don't fart.
Right.
So or we bag it up and sell it as fuel.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you noticed that the cows walking around have got this big inflating balloon on
That's
them?
right. They all got
And it's fuel.
Yeah. Look, to me, I'm glad that you said it was voluntary, because to me this goes back to a fundamental issue that you're seeing debated on the national stage right now, which is people's values. I watched an interview with Russell Crowe, Joe Rogan. Russell Crowe was on, not Russell Crowe, Russell Brand.
Yeah, Russell. Hello.
Russell Brand. It was a great comedian. I like him. I mean, he's got a cool vibe going on, but he doesn't understand the market at all. And
Joe or Russell?
Russell.
Okay.
And either Joe doesn't either. Actually,
okay.
Unfortunately, they don't understand that Russell's desires, his personal values, are built into the market.
Right.
Okay. What he thinks
Absolutely.
is right, but he doesn't know that. He thinks he's like he talks about commercialism, and he's like, we've got this this push towards commercialism that we've got to get rid of, and we've got to change it fundamentally and emphasize more important things for people. Okay. Now, when he says important, he means important to him. Right?
Yeah, well,
but he thinks he means important generally to everybody.
If you think for 2 seconds that the advertisers don't know this, they're advertising what's important to their customers.
Well, exactly. But see, Russell doesn't understand this. He thinks that there has to be some sort of push with guns to force the people into this better mindset. And he doesn't understand that like you said, the people who are pitching to Russell take into account how he feels. They will pitch flatulent collected cows to him. They will pitch rainforest cafes with a 1% boost, and that is your decision. You get to vote with your dollar.
Right.
You decide what's
Ultimate
valuable.
democracy.
Exactly. You decide what's valuable to you. It's like this guy who started that shoe company where every pair you buy, he gives away a pair to some homeless kid in the Congo. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is the value that you're paying for, and you should recognize you're going to pay a little extra for that. Mm-hmm. If that's valuable to you, you don't mind paying the extra. You go to those rainforest cafes, you pay your extra it's 1% now.
Yeah.
It's going to be, they'll have optional 10%. Like when you go to Publix these days, when they're about to give you your change,
my God, yes.
They ask you, would you like to donate your change? And I always say, I'd like to donate my change, but I'm not going to.
I tell them no, flat out no. What they'll do though is they will not only, they used to be, they have the change bucket there. Mm-hmm. Now what it is, it pops up on your card.
Yeah.
And it says contribution $1, $10, whatever.
Right.
I'm going like, hell no,
Well, but at least it's an option that's available to you, and they're catering to the customer. That is to say, if you want to be more conscientious about this or that or the other thing, go ahead, do that. Now, why you wouldn't just give to the Rainforest Rescue the exact same money instead of doing that? Okay, I don't know.
It's convenient.
Well, right, exactly.
It's convenient.
And that is exactly what it comes down to. If there's a McDonald's right next to the Rainforest Cafe, and I can even get McDonald's for $10 or the Rainforest Cafe for $20, who's going to spend $10 on the environment, maybe I'm going to eat at McDonald's and take my $10 and go spend it on the environment my own way. But the companies are all going to work this out. They're all going to take into account all of Russell's feelings about everything. If people want more spirituality in their food, a restaurant will arise to offer that to them.
That's right.
And that is part and parcel to the market.
They have the crystals hanging all over.
That's right. And what Russell doesn't understand is you have to have it based in commercialism if you want it to survive. You can't have something that is just a big charity, because then it's just a charity. It doesn't. Then if people stop giving, it's over. Versus a commercial.
Well, if he thinks he's not part of it already, he's out of his mind.
Well, he doesn't get.
I mean, the simple fact is, if he ever gets online and buys anything,
right,
and 2 seconds later an ad pops up.
Right.
If he thinks that they have not already analyzed him,
right,
and trying to cater to his whim,
right,
he's not. Of course, I mean that's so obvious on its face.
Well, again, it's obvious to you and I, right? And you know, from his perspective, he thinks that this commercialism is the rotten core of the whole thing, and that if we could just transform that into something else.
We?
I don't know.
It's somebody with a gun.
Well, right, and he doesn't understand that either, because I know he wouldn't promote that if he
right.
knew
That's
that
the
was
other thing. Right. There's the what do you call it? Not the irony. It's also irony, but it's the blindness to what you actually are supporting or advocating.
Right.
Is if you advocate this, then guess what? But you're over here too.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things. And you have to point that out. I know that when I was talking to Mrs. Jimmy years ago about this the first time, she thought I was nuts, and it took her literally. I kept talking to her about the ways this happened, and it took about a month for her to say, you're right. Now I understand. You have to keep pounding it in. Amazon offers to pay employees $10,000 to quit their jobs and deliver packages. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but even here in Gainesville, have you seen the little vans all over the place?
No.
Yeah, they have these gray vans with the word Prime on the side. They have their own.
Oh yeah, no, I think I have seen.
Yeah, they're quite. I won't say there's a lot, but there's some here in town now, and they're doing their own delivery service. And it used to be you had UPS Select, or even on USPS, and sometimes it would be an Amazon or eBay, and they would use them. But now Amazon is trying to get into their own delivery service to save money because they're not unionized.
Right.
That's one thing. That's where they're going to save money. Amazon, which is racing to deliver packages faster, is turning to its employees with a proposition: quit your job, and we'll help you start a business delivering Amazon packages. Well, one of the things that is interesting the way they're doing this, they have now invented, or they have now working in some of their shipping departments, this brandy new machine, which is an AI auto wrapper. And apparently they have one guy that just takes the product or the box or whatever and shoves it, and it gets wrapped, delivered, and out the door. And they have basically this huge machine that does 5,000 packages an hour or a minute or whatever it does. It takes like 2 people to run it. And so they're eliminating jobs right and left on that. And they're having the sentient robots that run up and down the aisles and can do the picking and everything. So now they're offering these guys, and somebody did a check on this. They're offering them not only $10,000 and startup. The company will also pay 3 months worth of their salary, and it's open to most part-time. Employees, not open to the Whole Foods people. But the deal is, somebody did a thing on this, and that is they said, well, maybe it's going to be touchy.
Maybe, and also temporary. I mean, we just talked about automated cars. And how long are you going to be able to employ a fleet of drivers once automated cars come out?
Right, that's right.
And what happened to the flying drones we were expecting? Where's the beehive that hovers above the city and delivers the packages down? Just here you go, and so I mean that can't be that can't be too far off. Maybe maybe the last few feet from the car to the doorstep is a problem.
Oh, it is. They called that for a long time on the internet. They've called that the last mile problem.
Right.
They've done that for a long time.
You can't drive by with a package cannon and just shoot it out at the. They do that with the newspapers, of course.
Yeah, I know.
So
I wish they'd fire them up a little closer to the house. I mean, it's the end of my driveway. I'm sorry, and I actually have to put on some shoes to go out there because of the gravel.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. So, but of course the thing is, will they put UPS or the post office out in the package business? Will they put them out of business? Well, no, because that's only Amazon packages, of course.
Okay.
And so until they start for now, right. It's clear where this is headed. Amazon will compete directly with UPS and FedEx, and of course one of the things is that those people are unionized, and so they get all the benefits and everything like that the Amazon people probably won't get as much of.
Right.
So
it'll be interesting if, ironically, the unions that were created to preserve their jobs will be their downfall by sucking off too much of the profit into the union and cause UPS to go belly up if these drivers proliferate or
right. Well, that's of course what happens is the way the unions typically have done this in the past, starting in the 30s, is with the union the laws.
Right.
That said you can't do this. That was mandatory bargaining. And that kind of stuff. And
they'll be like, well, you can do a lift, but you can't be a lift and a prime driver at the same time, or something like that. But we'll see, because it's all about efficiencies.
Okay, the last item I've got here, which is kind of a light note, and I'll let you go. Maybe you don't want to talk about this. I thought these people were kind of crazy. The world's biggest brothel throws down the challenge to sex robots. This is Sherry's Berries or whatever. No, not Sherry's Berries. Sherry's Ranch. Sherry's Cherries. No, Sherry's.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, right.
Ranch, as apparently one of the largest brothels out in Pahrump, Las Vegas or something. And what they said is, no way, Jose. Men really want the companionship and the interaction and so forth. No chance the flesh and whatever it is are going out. And I'm sitting there saying, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I mean, there's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of guys
Yeah.
who are just no way going to see interact with an actual girl.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that. I didn't think about that.
Oh, you got to be kidding me!
But I mean, that's actually what they're selling. That's exactly what they're selling, is the GFE, the girlfriend experience. And the concept is, there's a bunch of brothels that operate where what they tell the girls is, look, what the guy really wants is to just feel like you're their girlfriend for a few minutes. So you don't even necessarily have to sleep with them. You just go in there and be kind to them and nice.
They'll talk to you, and you're the god.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're the guy for whatever, or the god, And so I think they're right for a while. Now,
right.
There's going to be a space for, obviously, the robot.
No question
brothels.
about it. And a little more AI comes along, and as it is right now, even you can fire them on there, and they can ask you questions. You can sit there, and what are you thinking today?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about airplanes. Oh, airplanes! I really love airplanes.
Yeah.
You like them too.
And you know what they'll do is they'll link that brain into some live person sitting in a cubicle in Idaho or something, and so
this is the ultimate phone sex.
That's it. That's it. And the girl or who knows who's controlling it will be able to.
Boy, isn't that right? You see some hunchbackus of Notre Dame.
He's having sex with 20 people with his robots. That's it. He's got a really effeminate voice.
Yeah.
And he sits there, or it translates their voice. It makes it. He says what? Hey, I like you too. And he goes, I like you too. On the other side.
Oh yeah. And of course, the guy. All of a sudden, the girl hangs up and he says, oh shit, I had the Darth Vader voice on.
Right, yeah.
I'm sorry.
It switches back and forth.
I had the 2001 Space Odyssey. I like you, honey.
Yeah. It's gonna be weird, but look, there'll be a space for that, and then I think you're totally right. You see that? You saw the movie AI? Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
Okay, and Jude Law played a fantastic robot sex person.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it would be. It was.
Well, there's another one called Her, I think.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that one.
That's another one.
For sure, they'll be able to fool lots and lots of people. Autonomously, but that's 20 or 30 years down the road, probably.
It's funny you should say that, because I can't tell you how many times there was something that said it was 10 or 20 or 30 years down the road, and even without what we have today.
Well, it goes both ways. We've been saying 20 or 30 years for fusion for 50 or 70 years or something.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I can see. There's right, but I mean, there were some things that literally, in 10 years, was. I mean, you look at something like the iPhone. Literally.
Well, yeah, there'll be all kinds of stuff that we can't imagine.
Right.
But I
mean, when what's his name, the other owner of Microsoft, I forget.
Paul Allen.
Yeah, was it Paul Allen? No, the other guy, the guy who was their lead, whatever it was. I can't remember. Anyway, but he was laughing when the iPhone was announced in 2008, 2008. He said, "Boy, what a joke this is. This will never go well." Right, I mean, really.
Okay. Well, I got a couple of things here.
Okay, real quick, because we're coming in. Once we run over, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Just stick around.
Yeah. We may go over time a little bit this time. Okay. AG Barr appointed
Yes.
Durham an attorney to investigate the investigators
Right.
from the Russia probe. I have been saying since Mrs. Jimmy brought this up that this would not happen because prosecutors do not typically investigate themselves. And the only reason I think this is happening is, of course, because there's been turnover.
Right.
It's not the same people.
No.
He doesn't have to investigate himself. He's investigating other attorneys. But it's still, to me, an interesting turn of events. And we'll see if it goes anywhere. We'll see what comes up.
I saw a Rosenstein.
Yeah, Rosenstein came out and slammed Comey.
Boy, isn't that the
Right.
Whoa.
Well, and Rosenstein's been tossed under the bus by Comey and McCabe now.
I understand that.
And
So I mean, they're starting to eat their own or something.
well, and it makes perfect sense.
Of course it does.
In the context of an attempted coup, or whatever they want to call it, from my perspective, I still believe the entire thing was initiated because McCabe was pissed off that Trump called his wife a loser. And I think that
Yeah.
he basically got personally butthurt by the whole thing and went in there and said, you know what, maybe there's some collusion, and he sort of conscripted Rosenstein to get on board. And I don't know whether he concocted the story about the wire or not, but right away you're talking there was some breakdown in whatever their plan was right from the day one.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to do this or not? And like McCabe said, he did everything in his power to make sure that the investigation was on solid footing, even if he got ousted, because he probably figured he was going to get ousted. So it'll be interesting to see. I still think if I were the FISA court judges, I would be wanting to know how this Steele document got into my court. In a verified complaint,
Right.
allegedly, which means that somebody is swearing that to the best of their knowledge the facts in there are true, and yet Steele has come out in depositions over in England and said, I don't know whether that stuff was accurate or not. I was just putting information out there.
It's reminds me of the old thing where the woman looks at her doctor and says, well, I think I need to go get a second opinion. He says, I'll give you a second opinion.
That's it. No problem.
Yeah, right.
Same. Let me think about it. Yeah, same. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, Harvard, our illustrious best university in
I've
the
been here
country.
since 16 whenever.
Yeah, or even less, even more, I think. 400 years, 15 something, I think. But anyway.
No.
16?
It's 16 something.
Okay, yeah. 14, 22.
No, I don't think, yeah.
So anyway, Harvard fired one of its law professors
I saw
because the law professor is defending Harvey Weinstein.
Yes.
Okay? This to me is the most cowardly, just awful treatment. If I were him, I would sue the crap out of them.
And they've got like a multi-billion-dollar endowment.
Man, you sue the pants off of them. You go for punitive damages. You do whatever you can do because
Everybody's entitled to representation.
everybody.
And that's a tenet
Yes.
of lawyer.
Right.
Lawyers.
Look, the Nuremberg people had representation.
Right.
And look, and here's the way that you know.
Good point.
The reason why you know everybody deserves representation is because our system does not determine guilt or innocence until after the representation.
Right.
They're presumed innocence. Harvard is literally throwing out the Fifth Amendment for their professor.
Unbelievable.
Presumed innocence? Nope, I'm sorry. We're going to presume him guilty, and you're guilty by association. Just by the fact of you defending the guy. It's amazing. And you look back at Thurgood Marshall, okay, our United States Supreme Court Chief Justice, right? Mm-hmm. Defended who? Who is his big ugly? Google it up. Hey, everybody, you go back through the history of our top legal people, and they've defended hideously. You have to.
OJ.
Exactly.
And got off.
Well, and
for
look,
a while.
it is,
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean,
but it's amazing that they would do this, and I'm stunned that this. It's obviously a political, it's an advertising thing, and it's just cowardly. You guys suck. So there's that. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I'll do a quick light note here. There's an awesome comic book that was produced by either the Babylon Bee or one of their
okay.
group. It's AOC Superhero, and she flies around and she knocks down planes out of the air for polluting and such. And her arch enemy is a giant cow who blasts flatulence out into the atmosphere. And also her other arch enemy is the economist, who holds up Basic Economics 101 to her, which is her kryptonite. And it's hilarious. If you're not twittering, following the Babylon Bee.
Yeah, one of the things that you have to realize is that Babylon Bee is some of the stuff actually look kind of at first glance,
right?
Until you see it's the Babylon Bee.
Right.
It's like stuff that comes out of the Onion.
Right.
You know, you look at these. Wait. Oh, I see. But it is interesting that I don't know exactly how this is going to work its way out. But we talked last time about this fellow who had put up the AOC,
the parody account,
yeah, that was ripped down by Twitter or wherever it was, Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping track of exactly what's been going on with them putting. I heard they restored some people's accounts.
Yeah,
they did restore the guy who does all the memes. And so I don't know. James Woods is apparently still off Twitter.
Amazing.
But that's because I guess he wouldn't retract his tweet, which was a quote from.
Yeah, that's the other thing. As they say, that you're in trouble when you're accused of treason for quoting the founding fathers.
Man, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. A comedian was arrested in Brazil for for basically bashing the government. So we'll see though. They're trying to put him in jail and he's fighting it. So
see now the difference of course is in Ukraine, if you bash the government, you get elected.
You're
the prime minister.
Well, Bolsonaro is down there. We talked about him. We talked about him in the coming death squads when he was supposed to be empowering those people to go in and shoot on sight anybody holding a rifle in the favelas. I haven't seen anything come to pass from that though. I haven't seen any massive.
So what is he in cahoots with Duarte or whatever?
I don't know. I mean, that's they try to make him out like that, but I don't know. Let's see. Oh, Gene gives an update on the B-52 here. So, yep. Let's see. I guess that's about it here.
Okay.
So
it's a good day. This is a good show.
Yep. Thanks everybody for joining us. Let's see. We appreciate it. Gene, Buddy, Dan, Bill, Kelly. Thank you very much, Jack. Hope you guys enjoyed it a little bit.
Don't forget to tell your friends, for God's sakes. When you go on Twitter and say, I watched the Jimmy Doane show and, do something. Link. So, yeah, I mean,
share.
It's important. Share, yeah. When I say share, I'm not talking about the singer. I'm talking about...
Right. On Twitter.
Yeah.
These tracks brought to you by Kevin MacLeod. We thank Kevin. This is our copyright license here. We really appreciate it. We will be back on Sunday at 4 o'clock. I'll have this up in audio format for you guys shortly.
And on YouTube in video format.
Thanks, Gene. We appreciate it. And let's see. I'm Counselor Curtis. This is the Jimmy Doane Show.